Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're calling in from. Happy Friday. I've got my coffee filled to the brim. It's 11 o'clock a.m. over here on the East Coast, and I'm going to make a cup of coffee. It's a small one, so that's okay, right? It's good. Happy Friday. It's been a long week. I'm excited it's Friday. I have a long, busy day ahead of me, but I'm excited. I always like Friday mornings, even though my day starts off a little bit tired because when you have a long week, that's how it goes. Um, but I'm still excited about the weekend. I had an idea for something to talk about today about when to look for a job. And, this is UX or really anything, but for many of us, many of the folks who are tuning in, this is pertaining to UX. For me, it's obviously been UX. But this idea came to me this week, or I think it was last weekend, when I went to look at a house. My parents are looking for a house, and they currently have a house. They're living in a home that they love, but it's a little too big for them, and they want to move. But they don't need to move right now. It's not urgent. But they know they will be moving soon when they find the right home for them. And as I was driving to meet them to look at a house, this idea came to me that they are in the perfect position to be looking for a house openly because they already have a house. They're already living in a house that they are comfortable in, that they can afford, even though they know they don't want to stay there long term. So I had this idea about work and jobs and when the perfect time is to be looking for a job. And similar to when looking for a house, I think the perfect time to look for a job is when you already have one. And let me share a little bit more about that. So when you have a job, you're a job that you like, by the way, right? Like we're not talking about needing to leave a job because I know that happens often. But a job where you're comfortable enough to stay. When you're in that position, you can be open to looking for other jobs at other companies, talking to people about their work, the roles on their team, the opportunities that there are currently in that company or on that team, the opportunities that may be in their future. And it's different from when you are hungry, when you need a job, when you must have a job because you need to pay the bills. Excuse me. So, similar to looking for a house, if you need a place immediately, you are more likely to settle. You're more likely to not go for what is perfect for you, what is ideal, because you need something right now. And work is similar. When you need a job right now, you are more likely to accept a position that is not ideal for you, that is not perfect for you, that is not exciting for you, that doesn't pay you what you want to be paid because you need something. You need something right now. Right. And many of us have been in that position where we just need something right now. And even though it's not ideal, even though I don't love it, even though I don't love this team, even though I don't love the product, you name it, we take the role because we need something. We need to pay the bills. So we need to take that job. But instead, if you think about being in a comfortable position, then when you have an opportunity that is ideal for you, that seems like the perfect thing for you, then you can move on and take that opportunity. Now, this is not the same as having one foot out the door, right? I'm not suggesting that every time you have a job you like, a job you're comfortable in, that you always have one foot out the door and you're always searching for the next best thing. That is certainly not what I'm saying, because I think there's something important too in being present in your day, in your experience, growing, learning, making the most out of any situation you're in. So I do think that's important. But when you are comfortable in your job And either, it's not permanent, you like it, it's good, but this isn't permanent, it's not, maybe you don't get super jazzed about it, or maybe you really want to be working on something else, but this is good for now, that kind of thing. Or when you're honestly, when you've been somewhere for a while, then when opportunities present themselves, then you can be open to um, exploring these other opportunities. This led me to thinking about my own experience, and some of you have heard this before, but I find that I tend to, when I have full-time roles, when I've had full-time roles in my career, because now I'm a consultant and I'm my own boss, and I take on contract roles, I teach, I coach, I do a lot of different things. So it's different from having a full-time role with a company. But when I've had full-time roles, I noticed this pattern in myself where I tended to last about 3 years, and then I would get stagnant, I would get bored, I would be feeling like I wasn't growing anymore. And when this happened, when I was at Facebook, I got a career coach because I was just like, what is wrong with me? Why? This is an amazing company. I'm working on some amazing things with great people. I'm learning so much. Like, what is going on? Why am I getting that 3-year itch again? So I worked with a career coach to look within, to figure out what was going on in me. Like, should I stay? Should I be exploring the company more? Like, what is going on? Why am I not feeling fulfilled after 3 years? Because I had seen this pattern in myself with previous jobs. And with my career coach, we did a number of activities, and to understand like what my motivators were, and things like that. So fun to work with a career coach, by the way. If you ever have an opportunity or a need like I did at this time in my life, where I was just like, I need to understand what's going on here, I need some external help. It's so fun because those are the kinds of things that a career coach will help you with, understanding what jazzes you, what motivates you. They'll help you see your blind spots and things. Sometimes I say this all the time to my coaching clients, sometimes we're not the best mirror, and it's good to bring in an external person, whether it is a career coach, or people you've worked with in your past who can maybe be a better mirror of you and your strengths and things like that you may not even be aware of. So it's a lot of fun. I've had career coaches I've had 3 in my lifetime, and I've really enjoyed whenever I've worked with them. And that's outside of mentors and things like that I've had. But anyway, so with my career coach, we did some activities, and I learned that it's okay that I'm moving on after 3 years, because I get to a point where I don't feel like I'm growing anymore. And I learned that that was something that is really important to me, that I need to continue learning, I need to continue growing. So, I identified that, and that made me comfortable, made me okay with the fact that I was leaving after 3 years. It wasn't leaving after a month. It's not like I tried it and didn't like it and just moved on and gave up. It wasn't like that. It wasn't that I was hitting some obstacles, hitting some hurdles, and I ran away. Like, I wasn't running away from anything. I had, 3 years is a long time also. So in each of these past career experiences, I had impact, I had built relationships, but I reached points where I didn't feel like I was growing anymore. And when that happens, you hit a crossroad. Do I seek out other opportunities in this company, or do I move on and go elsewhere? And when this has happened in my career, I tend to do a little bit of both, right? I explore other things that are going on in the company, sometimes not so explicitly. Like, sometimes I just talk to people and talk to them about what they're working on and what their team is like. I'm not explicitly saying, hey, is there a role for me on your team? But I'm just, getting information to see what people are working on, because then I can decide if that's something I want to pursue or not. And then at the same time, I'm just kind of open, right? I'm open. I talk to other people outside the company about what they're working on. And when I have been in these places where I'm just open to opportunities have presented themselves. And it's not magic. It's not magic. I've talked copiously about the power of networking, relationship building, and doing your best work. So when you're building relationships with people and when you're networking and constantly building new relationships and strengthening your old relationships and talking to people about your work and talking to people about their work and doing your best work, opportunities present themselves because people want to work with you. So as I was reflecting on my own experiences, and it's not having one foot out the door, it's more an openness. It's an openness to learning about other people and what they're working on. It's an openness to growing myself. It's an openness to learning more myself, again, whether that be in the same company or in external companies. And when I have been in these positions where it's kind of like dating. It's kind of like dating. It's like when you're there was an old theory. It's like oh God, I can't believe I'm about to quote a Sex and the City theory. Forgive me, but it's like the taxi cab light. It's like when your light is on versus when your light is off, and it's kind of like dating. It's like when you're open, people are attracted to you, but when you're closed, people are not attracted to you. And it's the same thing in careers. When we're open, people are attracted to us. We're open to experiences. We're talking to people. We exude an openness, and other people are attracted to that. And people invite you in, right? So whether that be inviting you to, new jobs, new experiences, things like that. In this case, it's to employment opportunities, because there's an openness, a curiosity. You show a genuine curiosity. And then again, back to continuously doing your best work. That is the most important. Well, not the most important. These are all important, but that is really important because that's your reputation. People will know that you are known for your quality work. People know me for my quality of work. For my entire career, right? Like people, yeah, you like that dating analogy. It's a funny one, right? But it's true. It's true. It's openness. Like sometimes even with dating, people wonder like, why aren't I getting any dates? And it's like, well, are you really open, to like being friendly, getting to know people, just genuine curiosity about other people, like just getting out there and talking to people. Career is the same. It's like sometimes people ask me, what do I need to do to get the job? And it's like, here's what not to do. Go and grill people. Go and, go on LinkedIn and say, here's my resume. Do you have an opportunity? Hey, I'm looking for an internship. Here's my resume. Like, no, that's not how you build relationships. That's not showing an openness. That's showing what can I take from you? What do you have that I need? Let me just take it from you, right? That is not an openness. That is not I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow. Right. And it's a similar thing with dating. Oddly, I'm using this analogy, but it's similar, right? Like some people approach dating that way, where it's just like, I'm so hungry and I need a mate right now. And it's like, take, I need something from the universe. And it's like, or let me go out there and approach it like, I'm growing. I'm here to learn about myself. I'm here to learn about other people. I'm here to grow. And then when you're in that state, people come in and, you don't accept them all, just like the jobs. You don't accept them all. You still have your high standard of what you're looking for, but you are approaching it differently with this openness to growth and learning and improving who you are. And in the process, you're going to get that job and you're going to get that mate and you're going to do these things in life because the way you're interacting with the world is different. I feel like I've deviated now from the best time to look for a job is when you have a job. But this is a fun topic too. You get to know a little bit about how my brain works. The other thing that I think is important, and I talked about this last week, was the financial runway. So sure, you might be thinking, cool, Jen, thanks a lot. This isn't helping me because I don't currently have a job. So how am I going to do this? Right. Okay. So we have to start with number one. You need to get the job. And that's actually going back. Okay. So networking, relationship building, doing your best work, no matter what you're doing. So you have a reputation and you're constantly networking and building relationships because, by the way, I call it the long tail. The relationships you're building today might not lead to a job today. They might lead to a job in 5 years, in 10 years. You don't know. So it's this openness to growth, this openness to learning, this openness to genuinely wanting to build and have relationships. It's not I'm going out in the world and I'm going to get something right now. right? That is not the approach we're taking. The approach we're taking is I'm here to learn and grow. And it's the long tail, like again, reflecting back on my career, some of you have heard these stories before. When I'm going to tell you a little story about my career journey, because it's related to all these things I'm talking about here. When I was an intern at the U.S. Census Bureau, I met Jonathan at the APOR conference, the American Association for Public Opinion conference, national conference, and he was looking for a job, and we were both in the DC area. We met, we talked. That was that. Excuse me. A few months later, we were at a local DC APOR event, and he came to the event, and I was on the board of the DC APOR group at that time, and met him again. And I was just like, hey, how's it going? Remember we met at the conference, how's your job hunt going? And he said, I actually got a job. And he had gotten a job at Forrest Marsh Group. I'd never heard of Forrest Marsh before, but I was asking Jonathan about it, and it seemed really appealing to me, really exciting to me, because it was a business doing research. And I, at the time, didn't know that you can have a business doing research, right? I was in grad school. I was still thinking of academic research, but I've always been entrepreneurial. So I was very interested in research as a business. And he told me about this business, and they seemed very rigorous, which was important to me. I was working on my PhD in experimental psychology at that time. So for me, experimental rigor is really important. Now turning that into a business, I was like, "Ooh, this is really exciting." So and at that time, I had been at the Census Bureau just about 3 years. I had started as an intern there, and then I was a postdoc there. So at this time, I must have been a postdoc. And I was like, well, this sounds really interesting to me. Let me know how it's going. Let me know how you like it, and let me know if there's ever an opportunity, because this seems really interesting. Fast forward, I don't know how much time, but this one was pretty fast. Maybe it was like a couple of months. And he reached out and said, we actually have a position that I think you'd be great for. Can I let my boss know? And he did. And one thing led to another. And I ended up at Forrest Marsh Group. And the position they had open was actually not the position they hired me for. They ended up hiring me to start a UX research team, which they didn't have in-house. They were doing a lot of other research in-house, but they did not have UX research in-house. So they brought me in to start a team, design and create a lab and a participant database, and all of the whole process, right? And hire a team. And that was because of my relationship with Jonathan. Very little networking. That was, at that point, it wasn't even a relationship, right? It was networking. We had met at a conference and then met again at another event. So the power of networking, big deal. Let me tell you a couple more stories. Also, while I was at the Census Bureau, I was at a different conference, the UXPA conference. Back then it was UPA. This was my first UXPA conference. And I met Corey. Corey was he still is a consultant, a UX research consultant in the DC area. I was in the DC area. And again, I was very excited. This was prior to my meeting Jonathan. So while I was an intern at the Census Bureau, I was very interested because, again, Corey was doing research as a business. So I was like, I would love to pick your brain. This is an area I'm really interested in. And fast forward, he reached out to me and said, I have a project I could use some help with. It's really big. Are you interested in this project? And we ended up working together for, I don't even know how long that project was, like a year. I don't even know. It was multiple projects, focus groups, and usability tests all over the country for one client. And it was so much fun. It was really long. And Corey and I continue to work together to this day. I continue to work with Forrest Marsh to this day. Another fun story. So again, back to the Census Bureau, when I was at the Census Bureau, I met Curtis. Curtis was a student of John Krosnick. John Krosnick was doing a kind of visiting professorship at the Census Bureau. And that's how I got to know John, and worked with John. We published together and presented at conferences together. And through John, I met Curtis. And fast forward now years. Okay, so this is what I mean about the long tail. Years later. So I stayed in touch with Curtis, and more or less I saw him at conferences, like at again, the APOR conference, the Public Opinion Research Conference, which is more survey methodologists. And that was more what he was coming in. That was his background. And I would see him annually. And then at one of these conferences, years later, he told me that he had just started working at Facebook. Now, Facebook is huge now, but at that time, growing up on the East Coast, Facebook wasn't on my radar at all. And, he told me he had just started at Facebook on the UX team. And I was like, what? Because in my mind, he was a survey methodologist, number one. Number two, Facebook, like, okay, like again, so foreign, obviously not anymore. So I was like, okay, that's really interesting. And I said, well, now I've always loved San Francisco. So I was like, well, I love San Francisco. If there's ever an opportunity, let me know, because I would love to move to San Francisco. And work would be a great reason to move to San Francisco. So fast forward, Curtis reached out to me and said, we have an opportunity on our team that I think you'd be great for. One thing led to another. I ended up moving to San Francisco and working at Facebook, where I ended up being for, guess how many years? For 3 years. But that was the long tail. Okay. Sometimes it is more immediate. You meet somebody, you click, your experiences align with their experiences. Your experiences align with what they're looking for. Your desire, like, I don't have a lot of experience, but I could help you. I could be your note taker. I'm really organized and I'm really good with technology. Let me be your note taker. Let me organize the videos. I can make video clips for you, right? Like, offer the things you are good at, even if, for example, you don't have the real world experience, but that's what you're seeking. So you could tell somebody, I'm super organized. I'm, love working with you. You seem cool. Like, whatever it is that you're feeling, foster that. Sometimes it's in the moment. Sometimes it's almost immediate. For me, with Corey, it was nearly immediate. With Jonathan, it was nearly immediate. Sometimes it's a long tail. With Curtis, it was a long tail. It was literally years later, but I was seeing him, almost annually at the conference. And I've had other experiences where it's a long tail. It's like somebody you met many, many years ago. Sometimes it's not somebody you met, but somebody you met recommends you to somebody else. And that's where, coming back to always doing your best job. Your reputation is always at stake. You want to always do your best job, because you might have that one project that you did poorly on. It was just one project that you did poorly on, but the people you work with, that's the only version of you they know. So you always want to do your best job. Look, we're going to have bad days. We're going to have days when we're not our best, but you can't go into a project or a company and do a bad job and just not give it your all, right? Because then that's your reputation, and that'll follow you. You might think that, oh, whatever, it was just this one company, but that reputation follows you. Look, I've had people who have worked for me, who've worked on my teams, who have done a bad job. And when their name comes up, I'm sorry to say that I'm honest. I'll say, oh, they're a lovely person, but their work quality sucks, right? Like, I will be honest about that, because I'm not going to recommend a poor quality person to somebody else. Now, that's my reputation if I'm recommending a poor quality person, right? So always do your best job. Network, build those relationships with an openness to learning, because again, it's not about taking from the universe. It's about, to me, it is about personal growth and development and relationships. And, that's really when we're open, that opportunities do present themselves. And then we do it all over again. We have that opportunity. We go in there and we do a kick-ass job. We do our best job, and it continues, right? It continues. Now you're at this new company or contract role or whatever it is with new people, and now they know you, and your reputation continues to build. And who knows what the long tail is there. Right now on this contract role, you might be working with this designer and you just have this great thing going on. And, 5 years from now, you're both in completely different places, but that designer remembers you and they call upon you because they need a kick-ass researcher, and they remember you're an amazing researcher. So the other thing I wanted to mention now was the financial runway, which I talked about last time. And I think to be open to interact with the world in a way that is not hungry. By the way, hunger is good too, because I think it was Steve Jobs who said, oh shit, can't believe I'm forgetting. It's like stay hungry though. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting it. I'm gonna have to look it up real quick because now I'm embarrassed about it. Steve Jobs, stay foolish, stay hungry. Stay hungry, stay foolish. That's what he said. I've always loved that because it's like, I mean, I don't know if you want to be foolish, right? But to me, that means like take chances. That's how I look at that. Like stay foolish, stay hungry. It's like you're hungry, you're gonna work, because you're hungry, but also you stay foolish, like take chances, right? By the way, career wise too. So there's something about that openness where, on the one hand, as I mentioned, you don't want to um, settle. You don't want to be taking jobs that you're not actually interested in, that you're not jazzed about. But there's this other part of like, be curious, where sometimes an opportunity presents itself and it's like, I don't know too much about this. See, that's different from I'm settling. This is now like, I don't know too much about this, but this seems really interesting. I'm going to give it a try. Right? I have found the most growth in my life when I do that. When I go for something where, it's like when I was working for Ray Dalio with the principals team, it's like I didn't quite understand, but it seemed really, really interesting. And the people seemed really, really interesting. And I knew that I would grow. Right? So it was like this perfect combination of like excitement about something really interesting, knowing I'm going to grow from the role and from the people I'm working with, right? It was like this really nice combination where I didn't know what it was. I wasn't settling by all means. I just didn't know. I didn't have all the information. It was not rarely do we have all the information, to be honest, right? Anyway, I digress. Okay, so I want to talk about that financial runway because last time I talked about this, the importance of having a financial runway and all the things I'm saying here today, you might be like, yeah, cool, Jen, but I'm hungry right now. I need a job right now. So, because I need to pay the bills. So this goes back to what I was talking about last week about the importance of a financial runway. And you might say, well, everybody can't have a financial runway, Jen. We're scraping by here. But I really encourage you to shift that mindset because money is a funny thing. And when you use money as a tool rather than something that like you are chasing, use it as a tool like a fork and knife. Use it as a tool like a toothbrush, right? It is a tool. You figure out how to use that tool in the best way possible. And there's a freedom. It's a freedom from stress because you're no longer chasing it. Like, I need to make a lot of money. What does that even mean? What does a lot of money even mean, right? Why do you need to make all this money, right? Like when you really start to think about the importance of it and how to use it as a tool, then things change. And you can do that with whatever you've got. Sometimes we have to change the way we live. And by the way, I know that there are people who don't have money, and that is not who I'm talking about now. I'm talking about a lot of us here in UX research, in the UX community, okay? So I'm definitely not talking about people who literally don't have money, but I'm talking about a lot of us who you could change little shifts in the way you live and really start to accrue money. I mentioned last week, $20 a week over 20 years is $20,000. And that's without interest. And now if you put that into a high yield savings account, that's going to accrue interest. It can accrue even more if you put it into CDs, money markets, and things like that. But I'm talking at the base level, putting it into a high yield savings account, which they're currently at like 4% and change. That's $20,000 over 20 years that you can just drip, 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 slow drip and squirrel it away, and that will grow. So wherever you are today, if you start at a young age, hey, even better, right? But wherever you are today, I encourage you to think about your relationship with money and how you can squirrel away money so you can be financially stable and independent. So you're not going to settle when any job comes your way. Give yourself some runway so you can take your time and find something that's good for you. While you're looking for your full-time job, you can take on little contract roles. You can do things to keep yourself busy, to make money, to grow right? To expand, to learn about other things. Maybe it's not the thing you want to ultimately be doing, but you're working on that while you're still doing these other things and while you're squirreling away money and working on a different objective, which is to build that financial runway, that safety net, right? That safety net that maybe you'll never need to use because you'll be working, all these years and have these great opportunities, but it'll be there if you need it. And that will really change your perspective on job hunting, on settling, on being open to different kinds of experiences and different opportunities. So, networking. Number one, start doing it right now. In person is always the best. So, check out your local communities, what meetups are taking place. Post COVID, there's fewer, unfortunately. Get them started. People are hungry for this kind of thing, for in person meetups. So, if you're in a community and there's even just a handful of UX people there, start a meetup, get it going. If there's one that's dormant in your community, reignite it, get it going, because people are hungry for this. In person is definitely the best. Second best is online. You can go to virtual events, you can meet people on LinkedIn, you can reach out to people. Do it. Network with a curiosity, a genuine openness of getting to know people and what they're up to. Please do not go and interact with the world and take, and send people your resume and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Do you have anything for me? Don't interact that way. Okay. You want to go out with this openness and interact with the world that way. Relationships. Okay. Number one. And applying is brutal. All of you who've been applying left and right and getting those rejections, it's brutal. So if you go out there and build those relationships, you're talking to people about work along the way, opportunities will present themselves. Number two, work on that financial runway. Start today. If you could squirrel away $5 today, it's Friday. Start today. The end of the week, every Friday, I'm going to put away $5. You want to put in a little envelope? Put in a little envelope. I recommend a high yield savings account so it starts growing immediately. Do it. No excuses. Next time you go and buy that coffee at Starbucks, rethink it. Can you make that coffee at home and put that $5? I don't even know what they're going for these days, but can you go and put that into your high yield savings account where it's going to grow and work for you? Think about money as a tool for you, for your future. You could start at any age. You can start. And then number three is that openness. Really interact with people with this open. I know that goes along with the networking there. But it's worked for me. I'm not magic. I'm not an anomaly. I'm just sharing with you things that have worked for me, things that have worked for others as well. But I hope this is helpful for you. I hope this works for you. If you ever want to chat about your own experiences and other things you can do in your life, I'm always here for you. As you know, you can reach me on LinkedIn. You can reach me at uxrcoach.com. And I hope this was helpful for you all. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And I will talk to you all soon. See ya.